Hi, I'm Chad with Atara Property Management, and I just want to take a few minutes to talk to you about what I think really sets us apart as a property management company. So first off, a little background. We've been real estate investors and property managers in the Salt Lake area for over 20 years. And during that time, we've managed thousands of units and tens of thousands of tenants and tenant turnovers, tenant leases. And a couple of the things that I think are super important as a property investor and my biggest expenses and the area that I think a property management company can have the most impact is in my vacancies, my maintenance, and just my overall time and stress. And so, I think as a property management company, we've done a few things that really set us apart in these areas, and it's how we handle the processes behind the scenes to really use that experience we have to benefit you as a property owner. So let me just talk about a couple of those. For example, vacancy, right? Vacancy is one of your biggest expenses as a property owner. And your average management company will take your vacancy, list it. It'll go out, and you can see a list of all the services that are included in there. It goes to 27 websites or whatever, and all these different things. But what's really important is the process behind there and what they're doing to make sure you're getting top dollar and renting your property quickly. For example, the moment we list your property, we start going through a process that I call the 3 Ps of a vacancy, and that's price, presentation, and promotion. And we look at the metrics to know that help tell us a story of what's causing your property not to rent quickly. Your average property manager, and it drives me crazy, lists your place, and it's been 2 weeks, it hasn't rented. They call you and say, we need to lower the price $100 or $200 because it's not renting, right? And price might not even be the issue. In fact, it's the last thing we look at in our process. So again, price, presentation, promotion. The first thing we're going to look at is the promotion. So immediately we start looking at the data that's coming in and the metrics of how many clicks are we getting, how many video tours are being taken, how many showings are being happening, how many applications are we getting, etc. And those metrics tell us a story and help us identify what might be causing your property to not rent quickly. And instead of just saying it hasn't rented, we need to lower the price. For example, just one of these things, one of these aspects in there is if, we can look and say it's been a week and we're getting a lot of clicks, we're getting a lot of showings, but we're not getting any applications. That tells me it's probably not a price issue. It's probably a presentation issue at the property, right? And so we go and do a thorough review and make sure there's not something that's popped up or something that's happening that's stopping people. We also get feedback from anyone that's done showings as much as we possibly can to try to identify what's actually causing your property not to rent. So, again, our process behind the scene is to be looking at these things very quickly and on a regular basis so that we can make the changes necessary to get you top dollar. Now, we will change price if it's what needs to happen, and we'll make that change quickly, but only if it's the calculated and correct decision for your property, right? And to get it rented. So, that's just one of the processes that we do and that we go through that I think really sets us apart because it's our expertise that we're implementing into that system. We're not just plugging it into a system and hoping that it rents. So let me talk about another one that, your next biggest expense or maybe your biggest expense as a property owner is just maintenance costs, turnover and maintenance costs. And there's a couple things in here, behind the scenes here that I think are super important. First off, let's talk about pricing a little bit because a lot of property management companies charge a maintenance coordination fee or a maintenance markup. And what this means is they make more money. The property management company makes more money if you as an investor have higher maintenance costs. And that's a big problem, right? I mean, again, I'm a property investor, and trust me, I know my maintenance expenses are rising with the way that the world is going right now and if inflation happening the way it is. I don't need anything more added on to my maintenance expenses. So real quickly, the process that we go through, there's a few things that we go through that really save you money as an investor in your maintenance expenses, and it's not just our pricing. We don't charge any kind of maintenance markup, and we don't charge any maintenance coordination fees. We don't add anything to your maintenance costs. But just as important is the process that we go through when we receive a maintenance request from a tenant and some of the preventative maintenance that we do on your property. So, for example, tenant request, put in a maintenance request saying, my garbage disposal is not working, right? Again, if I'm one of those property management companies that makes money on maintenance, that makes money if it on every work order, well, I get that maintenance request, I turn it into a work order, kick it out to a vendor. Vendor goes out, you get a $100 trip charge no matter how complicated the issue is. And guess what? Garbage disposal, it might have just been the little red button on the bottom that needs to be pressed, right? And so, when we get that request from a tenant, we're going to do troubleshooting with the tenant first off to try to see if we can stop it from becoming a work order in the first place. Because we can ask a few calculated questions, send them some information, and figure out, is it just the red button on the bottom that needs to be pressed? And help them, fix that problem without ever sending out a vendor. And again, if we don't send out the vendor, we save you $100. If there's a maintenance markup, like a lot of management companies do, and this one's really important because you won't see this on their pricing page. They don't advertise the maintenance markup. It should be in their management agreement, but I've even come across a couple of companies that aren't disclosing that properly. But what that means is they add 20%. So in other words, in this same scenario, they send out the vendor to go look at the garbage disposal. Vendor gets out there, presses the red button, charges $100. On your owner statement, you get charged $120. $20 goes to the management company, $100 goes to the vendor that went out, right? So they just raise your maintenance cost by 20% on a work order that should have never had a vendor dispatched in the first place. So again, we manage the maintenance process, but it's the processes and the expertise behind and behind the scenes that really can save you a lot of money as a property investor. So, those are just two examples of the behind the scenes processes that we do that make a big difference for you as a property investor. And I could go on about different, all the different services we do, whether it's tenant screening, whether it's how we handle financials, and our background expertise and process and how we've tried to really refine that to help the property investor. And I think this has happened because, again, we are property investors, we're current investors, we manage for friends, family, and everything we've done in our company has been from that owner perspective, with that owner mentality, and how does this benefit the owner? And, it's super important. So, another thing I'll kind of talk about is just the reduction of stress and the freedom that we can give you as a good property management company and as a trusted partner. So, again, we've been doing this for 20 plus years, and we are very up to date with legislation, with all the things that are happening in the rental market. We're experts in the rental market. And so, the goal as a property investor, and what we want to help you do, is to realize, if you're like me and you got into real estate investing for the financial freedom and the time freedom that it can provide, and that it does if it's done correctly, then you know how important it is to be able to, first of all, cash flow, right? So a couple of those things like I talked about, like how we reduce your vacancy, how we reduce your maintenance expenses. Well, it's cash flow. If you're not making cash, you don't have freedom, you have stress, right? So we're going to do everything in our power to increase your bottom line. Secondly, we use our expertise and our knowledge to reduce your stress, and to give you time freedom as well, right? Because we cover it from A to Z. We're a full service property management company. We're experts. And, I know you have to trust us in that. But what I'll say about that is the other thing that I think sets us apart is we've got no setup fees. We've got no long-term contracts and no termination fees. And this is important because we want to be your property management partner for years to come. We want to help you build your real estate portfolio and manage more properties for you, but not because you're locked into a contract and you feel obligated to continue to use us, but because we're really good at what we do, and we help you realize that time freedom and that financial freedom that you got into real estate investing in the first place. So anyways, again, I hope you'd give us a call. Try us, really risk-free. Again, there's no upfront costs. There's no contract, no long-term contract, and no termination fees. So we're really putting our money where our mouth is. We think we can do an excellent job for you. So give us a call and let us know if you have any other questions. Thanks so much.